you haven't gotten one yet, let us know and we'll get it to you. Tear it in half, you keep half, and pass the other half to the person in the center or the end of the aisle and we'll collect them. So we're coming to you tonight. The Safety Committee is putting this event on. I would like to make a few introductions. Rick Asai is our chair, gentleman right there, and he's also treasurer of the board. Judy White. Judy, can you hear me? Judy, she's there waving her hand. She's the one that organized all this. Judy is very involved in organizing Firewise, evacuation, and events like this. Ted Wang is back there at the sign-in table. Ted is currently working on a project. If you've been to the marina lately and seen some construction starting, he's organizing an Eagle Scout project, which is going to be a shelter for loner life preservers. If you're on the lake and you're on any kind of a paddling device, inflatable kayak, it does not matter. You must have a PFD with you. So Sun Valley and the state of Washington are supplying the life jackets. So you can take one if you don't have one, put it back at the end of the day. Debbie DeVillio? Debbie, are you here? And Daniel Harris is also one of our members. Daniel's an unusual member. He lives here in Sun Valley with his wife and 2 kids, but he's a firefighter and he works in Southern California. So he's got a pretty good commute. Last, I know on the questionnaire, a lot of questions are going to come up about emergency evacuation. It is being worked on. It's a very difficult problem. We had a meeting scheduled 2 weeks ago with County of Washington emergency evacuation guy and emergency preparedness guy. But unfortunately, it was the day a couple bees got loose in Ferndale, and he had to run away from the meeting. So it happened, but the primary guy we needed besides the fire chief and our general manager were there, but it was hard to get anything really accomplished. But emergency evacuation was one of our top priorities. When the new fire station is completed, they are providing a room for the Sun Valley Ham Operators Group so that we can restart Sun Valley's AM 1610 emergency broadcast system. So once that's up and running again, you'll be able to turn your radios to AM 1610 and hear a recording on whether it's a snow event, wind event, fire, earthquake. Emergency instructions will be on that radio station. But hopefully that'll be up, hopefully by the end of the year. So we are blessed tonight to have 2 guests. We have Greg Hope right here. He'll be up here in a second. He's with the City of Bellingham Office of Emergency Management. And we also have Amy Cloud. She's with the Whatcom County Sheriff's Division of Emergency Management Public Information Officer. That's a hell of a title. And she's with us as well. So I'm going to turn it over to them. Later we will have the raffle and a question and answer period. There are questionnaires. Please grab one and fill it out. We want to know what you guys want. That's what's important to us. So, Amy, you go first, right?
Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Okay, first of all, thank you for your interest in this. It's so important, and it's most important that each of you who will be affected are actually here getting the information. And speaking of information, if we thought plenty, but if you picked up information and it's in a language that you don't speak or read, and you don't want to learn that language, you could just gift it back to us and we'll try to get you in English. A few things, Greg and I are kind of splitting the role here. What I want to talk about a little bit is getting ready for what the hazards are that are coming. Greg does this really well if you've ever heard him speak about it. Some of the things we know we can need to be prepared for instance, wildfire. I know many of you probably remember what you could see across the lake here not that long ago. You experienced the bomb cyclone. Nobody else in Whatcom County had that like you did, or could foresee that it would come and have the impact that it did. And all of us, we know we're going to get flooding, and you may have had times when you couldn't get out of here, or you couldn't get home from work because of flooding. So one of the things we want to do is make sure you know how to find out what the hazards are where you are. Because some of you, I know we talked, you're not from Sudden Valley, you're visiting from other places. And just like we have microclimates, we kind of have micro disaster zones. So I'm actually going to ask Greg if he'll be the clicker mover. So there is a really robust web page that will help you find the hazards where you are, and I would encourage you to get acquainted with it, because what you do is you type in your address and you can get layers of what to expect. I wish I could tell you how deep it goes, but it's pretty good. I found just my neighborhood, and that was enough to scare me, so I stopped. And we will talk about some of this afterwards if you have specific questions, but go ahead and advance to the next slide. Oh, we're already up to Greg. He's going to talk about sheltering in place and the go bags, and I'm going to pick it up again with Ready, Set, Go.
Okay. Again, I'm going to repeat what Amy said, and that is, thank you very much for coming out. Being present, showing up is the single most important thing you can do, and then don't let that be the end of it. Continue on. I'm going to go off script for just one moment, okay? This is going to be a little exercise. If you're holding something with one of your hands, could you please try to balance it on your lap? Because this is going to require your hands. Okay. Here is your first question. No, this is your first command. Wherever you live in Sudden Valley, if someone depends on you during an emergency or a crisis, even if it's only one person, hold up one hand and keep it held up. If someone depends on you, I'll include pets in that too. Oh, look at all the hands go up. Okay, keep that hand up. Next. If you depend upon someone else during an emergency or a crisis, hold up that second hand, please. Okay, now look around, see the hands that are up, and I'll tell you why we did this. Our goal, where I live too, in Bellingham, is for us all to have both hands up. The community that we are seeking to build is a community based on mutual dependence, mutual aid, and shared destiny. So when we go away tonight, when you go back home, think about what you can do to get both hands in the air, and that is, who on my block or in my neighborhood can depend on me, and let's make sure that they know that they can depend on me, and who do I depend upon? Whether it is for something that's not in my pantry right now, or if I need help with mobility, or if I need someone to pick up my cat carrier and run with it when something goes sideways. Okay? Thank you for participating in that. Let's dig on a little further. Does everyone remember the first slide in our deck? It was a big blue slide. What did it say? Starts with an E. Well, actually, the word was evacuation, but I like emergency too. Okay, let's go back. When we talk about evacuation, it's really one of two big choices and they're at opposite ends of a spectrum. So has anyone here tolerated me at either the Bellingham Senior Activity Center or at the Bellingham Public Library when I've done public outreach? Oh, thank you. I'm so sorry for you. Thank you. What I try to explain to the public is when it comes to an emergency, whether regardless of which of those hazards that Amy described a slide back, you really have two big choices. And if you were a fan of The Clash in the 1990s, you know those choices. Should I stay or should I go now? If I stay, there will be trouble. Your choice to evacuate or to shelter in place depends upon what's going on. So take a look up at the slide here. Sometimes the right thing to do is shelter in place because the safest place to be is where you are right now. Does anyone remember a recent event in which we were all asked to shelter in place for a while? I'll give you a hint. So shelter in place is our option when the safest place to be is at home. And when you all walked in and you attacked our table of materials like a little group of piranhas, you see that one of those booklets that we had for you is called 2 Weeks Ready. 2 Weeks Ready refers to sheltering in place. And that is, we want you to be able to stay safely at home for up to 2 weeks and go shopping in your pantry. That includes toilet paper. So when do we shelter in place? Yes, during a pandemic. The safest place to be is at home. But also things like, well, hopefully we'll never have to deal with an armed assailant situation, but severe summer and winter conditions. If we have a heavy snow or an ice storm, or if we have a severe heat event. And I'd like to remind you all that the anniversary of the last extreme heat event in Bellingham was 4 years ago, starting in just a couple days, starting on Thursday. In 2001, we had a 5-day extreme heat event with temperatures over 100. It happened, it will happen again. So that's an example of a shelter-in-place scenario. Our evacuation scenarios apply when the danger is coming toward us. So that can mean flooding in some parts of the county, that can mean wildfire, but it can mean other things as well. In some parts of the country, it means hurricane. In some parts of the country, it can mean tornado. For us, the most likely hazard for that is most likely wildfire. So this takes us back to those two big choices, doesn't it? Should I stay or should I go now? No. I want to go a little bit further on that. When we talk to people about evacuation, what I try to do is explain, well, evacuation is not all just one thing. If I say the word evacuation, what kind of image comes to mind? Say it again. Oh, helicopter. Okay. Anybody else? So there are typically two scenarios that come to our minds when we hear the word evacuation. One is a fire in a crowded movie house, right? Somebody shouts fire, there's a scrum at the door, there's a big pileup at the exit doors. The other, of course, is somebody yells fire in a crowded valley community, and then there's a pileup on the roads, right? So here's what we want you to be thinking about with evacuation. There are different kinds of evacuation, and for the most part, these tend to happen in large structures. When we're evacuating from the inside of a structure outside, there's a concept known as phased evacuation, and it tends to happen in vertical scenarios where we have like a fire in one of the upper floors of a tall building. Who do you think gets evacuated first? People on the floor with the fire, people above them, maybe the people below them. Does the whole building empty out like that crowded movie house? Phased evacuation does exactly what it's supposed to do, and that is it moves the people who are nearest to the danger to a place of safety without necessarily moving the people that are already in a place of safety. There's something similar to that that's called occupant relocation. And if any of you have friends or relatives who are in an assisted living facility, That's something that could happen in one of those locations. Not a lot of floors, but a large structure that's spread out over a large area with perhaps multiple wings. If we see a fire in one of those, we'll do what's called occupant relocation, and we will move people who are where? Closest to the danger. We'll move them first, move them elsewhere in the facility, and probably not empty out the facility. Now, why do I tell you this? Because evacuation is something that needs to be coordinated. So you folks are working with your safety committee, making plans, learning what you need to learn for evacuation, but be aware that quite often evacuation is carefully coordinated, and you won't necessarily be called upon to jump in your car and drive like heck if you are not the person closest to that area of danger. You'll find that the Division of Emergency Management or the sheriff might go and be evacuating specific neighborhoods, specific blocks that are closest to the fire line, and then moving forward in a coordinated fashion. And they'll manage the traffic on the roads as well. So this takes us back to, should I stay or should I go? Well, even when the answer is I should go, it'll happen in a stepwise, coordinated fashion. Now, we've established that it's time for you to go. What will you take with you besides your cat? And for that matter, what will your cat take with him? So some of you picked up our handouts out back. Some of you didn't get there quick enough. And what we have for you is a list on our Ready, Set, Go flyer. And its contents for what we're calling a Go kit. You may have heard it called a Go bag. You may have heard it called a Grab and Go kit. You may have heard it called a Bug Out bag. All of those refer to the same thing. When I first started talking to you, we talked about sheltering in place, and I said, the thing you picked up that says 2 weeks ready, that's for sheltering in place. That's your well-stocked pantry with toilet paper that has everything you need to stay safely at home for up to 2 weeks. Great. Your Go kit is not for your sheltering in place, it is for your evacuation. And what does it contain? Well, it doesn't contain the Costco size of toilet paper because that won't fit in a bag. It doesn't contain 2 weeks worth of water because you can't lift that. A Go kit generally contains enough for you to be able to leave the house rapidly and in a coordinated manner and get to the nearest point of safety. Where is the nearest point of safety going to be? It might be a friend or relative on the other side of town. It might be an emergency crisis shelter, depending upon the scenario and if they've been opened up. It might be to a nearby church. There are multiple options. The point about that Grab and Go kit is it's enough to meet your needs when you go to that point of safety. And so it's not going to have the Costco-sized toilet paper. It's going to have things like some water, some calories in the form of granola bars, energy bars, beef jerky, things like that. It is going to have some of your prescription medications if you require those, maybe a spare pair of readers, maybe a backup battery for your phone so your phone stays charged, perhaps a little bit of cash. But here's the important thing. You can't pick up your pantry and carry it with you. Your Go bag is meant to be something that you can snatch up and carry with you as you go. Greg, do I need to keep my Go bag by my front door? No, you don't, but you may if you wish. The whole point of it is to be convenient enough that if the phone rang or if you flicked on AM 1610 and somebody said it's time to go now, you can easily reach for it, grab it, and go. Some people keep their Grab and Go bag in a tote in the trunk of their car. Some people keep them in both places. Something to remember is that if you're in a family of two or a family of four, well, you don't want one person having to carry everything on their back. So please consider planning for one bag per member of the household. If you have a cat, the cat needs to wear a little backpack too. Or some of the cat's supplies need to be in somebody's backpack. So that means same thing. A little food, a little water. If they're prescription meds, yes. If your cat needs a pair of readers, throw them in there too. And you can see that there are a few other items here. I'm not going to go down through the list exhaustively. If you want, we can show you a much longer list. Remember, your go bag is enough for you to just slip away and safely get to a safe location and be able to hang out for 2 to 3 days. Okay? I don't see any puzzled looks yet, but there are bound to be some coming. Let's see. Amy, are you going to jump on this? Great. We want you to know how we're going to tell you to stay or go.
Thank you, Greg. Didn't I tell you he was good at this? So he's got you all ready to go. How do you know when to go? Most of the things we have for you to pick up or look at include a QR code for Alert Sense, which is what the county uses so that you can be notified in the event that you do need to be ready to go or to take off, what the risks are. So the nice thing about this, and could I have somebody in the very back row, if you can hear me, wave your hand so I know I'm getting, thank you so much. The really cool thing about this specific program, Ready, Set, Go, east of the mountains, they've been using it a long time because most of us are not firefighters and we don't know that language. And I will admit, when they say it's level 1, I don't know what that means. Does that mean it's scale of 1 to 1 or 1 to 100? What is it? So Ready, Set, Go is meant so that those of us who don't fight fires for a living know what to do. And the nice thing is, Eastern Washington's done it for a long time. Now all the counties up and down the I-5 corridor and into the peninsula do it, which means that if you're visiting your relatives over in Sequim or taking your kid over to Wazoo and you hear Ready, Set, Go alerting, you know after tonight what to do. So I mentioned signing up for Alert Sense. That's how we communicate to you. What you need to know and what you can take charge of is the Ready, Set, Go. And ready is one thing we already talked about. What is the risk you're most likely to face? This time of year, we're officially in a drought. The snowpack melted early, and people are firing up the barbecues, which means we need to be on alert for not just wildfires where lightning hits, but where maybe our barbecue tips over or something happens. So it's being aware of what could happen. And I'm sure because you're here, you obviously pay attention to sources of information, and you probably have already bookmarked trusted sources of information. We have places we can go for entertainment and amusement, but when you need to know what's happening in our community, local news media that sources their information and fact checks it is who you want to go to. And I'll put in a plug because the City of Bellingham, Whatcom County collaborate on Whatcom Ready, whatcomready.org. We have a website where you'll find a lot of this information we're sharing tonight. You don't have to remember it all. And also Whatcom Ready Facebook page for those who prefer to bookmark social. And when we have something happen, not that long ago we had, I don't know, was it 250,000 bees or was it just 15 million? But they got out. And that was the channel we had to use to let people know something's happening that could affect you. As Greg mentioned, he told you everything that needs to go in your go bag. And I appreciate that he said, can you lift it? Because frankly, some of us cannot lift as much as others can, so we will not pack the heavy underwear, we'll go light. And when we're doing ready, that's when you're making sure your go bag is packed up and ready to go. And it's also, Greg mentioned earlier, do your friends know that you might need to come stay with them? Do you have relatives? Do you have a plan in place where you know to call somebody who's not in this area affected by the same calamity and say, I have to leave Sudden Valley tonight perhaps. I'm going to be staying in Linden. Here's how you can reach me. And then that person is in the know and you've got your plan ready to go. At this time, it's a good time to get things ready inside and out. If you've got sprinklers turned on, you can think about whether you leave those on. You turn off all your appliances. You make sure the temperature's down low. Do you leave your windows open or closed? The kind of things that make sense to you, go ahead and do those now when we're in the get ready part. Partly because you do need to have that ready if you go, but partly because most of us need to do something when we feel something scary is coming. We don't want to just sit there and wait for the bad guy to jump out of the closet. We want to go and get our machete and be ready for him. It gives you that sense of preparation and comfort, I think. And this is important and it goes with every single one of these steps, is if where you are, you can see that it's dangerous, go ahead and go. I mean, Greg brought up the point, and we can't state it enough, it can't be mass stampeding, but you may live in a part of the valley where the fire started, and you can see it. And you make the calls you need to make, get first responders there, and then pack up and go. You've gotten the message that it's time to get ready. Now it's time to get set. So is your go bag, have you tested it? Can you lift it up? Is it where you can see it? If you used up your granola bars the other day when you were hungry, put them back in. And keep your ear on KGMI radio. They're the FCC source for emergency news in this community. Watch Whatcom Ready Facebook. Go to the sources that you trust for news, because if something's developing, that's news and they're gonna let you know. And I say that as somebody who used to be a reporter. We always wanted to be the first ones to tell people what they needed to know. Not necessarily are, but you're not far behind. And again, if you feel it's unsafe where you are, let people in your plan know what you're doing and then go ahead and do it. And when you get the alert, it's time to go now, that means right now. That means pick it up, put it in your vehicle, and start driving. You can let folks know when you're on the way, but it could mean that that hazard is right there. And our goal in emergency management is to make sure that you're prepared and that you're safe, but we can't drive you out. You have to be able to do that. So in the earliest phases, when you've got word something may be coming, that's really the time to take the decisive action so that you can keep yourself safe. The other important thing is don't go home until folks say you can. The tendency may be, you know you didn't get the animals with you and they're going to be hungry. You don't want them to run off. You want to make sure they're safe. You're going to just dash back for a minute and take care of them. But you don't want to do that because first responders, and for that matter the damage and the hazard, are still present. Officials will let you know when it is safe, and we will share that news on Whatcom Ready when it's safe to go back in. I think you can click me, Greg. If you do sign up for Alert Sense, you will get a notice from us a couple times a year that says, is your contact information still accurate? Super important to make sure that it is. Sometimes, not often, there will be a test, and we'll let you know that it's a test, but Greg and I wanted to share the image of what you'll see when you sign up so you know. And we have to follow the FEMA's best practice guidelines for how you can know the messages from us. We say who we are, we say what the risk is, and we tell you what to do. Those three messages in just a few characters, because we don't have a whole lot of characters. But if you don't trust the source, if you see a message and you can't tell who it's from, you may still, that's when you go to your trusted sources of information and say, I need to verify this is the case. In fact, that's actually a social phenomenon. People do that anyway. authorities may tell them to do something, and they go, well, I'm gonna ask my brother if that's what he thinks is true. Perfectly normal, okay to do it. But if it says it's from Whatcom County Sheriff's Office Emergency Management, and we've issued a wildfire alert for an area that's relative to you, South Lake Whatcom, and we say, get ready, there could be an evacuation on short notice, you can take it seriously. Greg, I cannot remember what the maps were. Was that to show how we're geolocating where the risk is? Yeah. Because as he mentioned, we don't do these things scattershot because we don't want the whole county getting in their car and getting on the road if there's no hazard north of Sudden Valley. So we will, in our technology for alerting, we will geofence the area that needs to know, which is why sometimes you may hear an alert and somebody else close to you may not. Normally, there's more overlap than there is exclusion. So you may hear about something that's not going to be dangerous to you. That's more likely than you won't hear if something could be a risk to you. But it's the paying attention part. I think we can go on, Greg. These are the sites I want you to get familiar with. Whatcom Ready, the website is, you'll probably have to search it, just Whatcom Ready, but it introduces you to how to get to that hazards map we told you about, how to get in touch with us. Some of you, the most important thing we face is, what are the road closures? Just, am I going to make it to work on time? Road closures are there. You'll see them more in the winter than any other time, but out here where you've just got a couple ways in and out, that might be a site you want to bookmark with the County Public Works page. So we try to include links to everything that we offer, either as a service or information, or that we think you will need and want to know when something's impacting you. The brand of alerting that we use is Connects Us. Most municipal agencies have them or somebody similar. It is an opt-in. When I started doing things, you could reach people by their landlines. It went automatically with the message. But with so many people not having landlines and only cell service, you need to opt in because we can't reach you unless you do. So the QR codes will guide you to where there's information and also how you can sign up for AlertSense if you're not already there. Greg, do you think I missed anything in any of those? One slide left. What's that? Yes, it probably might be challenging to take the snaps off here, but we do have more examples. We have the QR code from this slide right in the back there. And I would encourage you, out here you're Whatcom County, but when I lived here, we thought of ourselves as Bellingham too. So I would say capture both, especially because if you're shopping in Bellingham and living here, or going to school somewhere else, or working here and living elsewhere, you kind of need to know how to access all the information that's relative to you. And I'm going to invite Greg up because he's the guy who's interesting to hear and has probably a great way to take us home.
Okay. We will leave this up so you can all walk up with your smartphones and take some smart photos. The really important one for you folks is the one at the top that takes us to our Connexus/AlertSense program. That's what gets alerts to your mobile device and to your email inbox. But you might want to hear from us again sometime in the future after you've had a chance to recover. Can we have a quick show of hands? Please raise a hand if you have participated in or even have just heard of a program called Map Your Neighborhood. Okay, oh, wonderful, thank you. There are a few people that know about it. Our job today is not to push that on you really hard, but I'm going to push it anyway. It's a simple program that pulls together you with just a few of your neighbors for a nice structured discussion about your neighborhood plan and how to do what? Have both hands up. That is, to know who's in your immediate neighborhood, who's in the households, what kinds of supplies you have among yourselves, and to make a little plan for those critical early moments and hours after disaster. We have materials to help you do it. I will be happy to come out and help you do it if you can pull your neighborhood together for this little gathering. Also, we can get more print publications out here for you folks. Either Amy or I can come out and do presentations for small groups. If you want to take a deeper dive into specific kinds of hazards, we can do that. And I guess to make one more shameless pitch, some of you picked up some booklets that have the words "Prepare in a Year" on the cover. Prepare in a year means, oh my gosh, Greg, you're asking me to do all this stuff. How am I going to do it? And my answer is, you're just going to do one thing a month, so that way you don't get overwhelmed. If you have the booklet and you follow the steps, you will end up not just 2 weeks ready, but ready for a much longer period and ready for many things. If you want a chance to talk to someone about any of those specific steps, I'm in the Bellingham Public Library once a month to present on that month's topic. So if you came in March, we'd be talking about water. If you came in June, we'd be talking about 2 weeks ready, and etc. If you prefer, I'm also in the Bellingham Senior Activities Center once a month to do the very same thing. And if someone said, hey, Greg, will you come out and do it in Sudden Valley? I'm sure we could make that happen as well. Okay, Amy and I are going to be here. We'll be the last ones out, so we're available for questions. Tom, I think you said something about collecting questions. We'll do our best. And, well, yes?
Hello? Oh, there it is. We're actually going to take questions right now. I'm going to walk around with the phone, and if people want to raise their hands, we'll get it to you. Your name and your address, and you're free to ask your questions.
Just give me a minute to run out the back door.
Okay. Well, I need to make a couple more announcements. Well, hello? Oh, there we are again. While I was doing the introduction, I forgot who I was, which is getting more frequent. My name is Tom Henning. I'm on your board of directors, and I'm also a co-chair of the safety committee. Okay, is this better? Okay. For those of you that aren't aware, the fire chief and his administrative staff about 2 weeks ago moved out of the fire station, so that is empty now. And they moved into an office across the street where Pet Stop used to be. So if you need them, they're across the street in that location. And now we'll do Q&A. So if you have a question, raise your hand. I'll get the mic to you. Please state your name and address.
Thank you to all of you for doing this. I have what might sound specific as a question, but, oh, there we go. I might have a specific question, but I think it's shared by many of us. Where we live, there are a number of people who travel. We have 4 flight attendants. We also travel ourselves, and so do many of our neighbors. And we're buffaloed around the question of sharing a go bag, or how do we connect with neighbors who are absent because of travel. Do you have any guidance for us?
So for those of you in the home audience, so the question was, we travel. A lot of people here travel. How do we coordinate with neighbors in terms of go bags and other details? This is not going to be a totally satisfying answer, but I'm going to go back and say your best bet is call me out here. Let's have a map your neighborhood gathering where you're getting familiar with each other and making that plan together. Ideally, each individual has their own go bag because we each have individual needs. You know, some of us are fellas, some of us are ladies. Some of us have prescription meds, others don't, etc. Really, believe it or not, it sounds a bit simple. Our best remedy for what we're preparing for is communicating with each other and doing it during that ready phase. Good question, though. Thank you. And I'm happy to talk to you more about it offline.
I got this one. Who else?
Well, he's getting there. I'm going to do a shameless plug too, that if you listen to KGMI, go on their website as well, because every month I'm doing what Greg is doing in person, but I'm doing it in an article. It's one of 2 articles that I produce monthly at KGMI that's helping you take 1 hour a month to get ready in a year.
Hi, hello, my name is Rob Gibbs. I live at 14 Far Summit Place here in Sun Valley. The question I have is, and I think I might know the answers, might be map your neighborhood, but I'm thinking about some of my neighbors that don't get around as well as maybe they used to, a little bit slower. There could be some people using walkers. I'm in my chair, but what should we be thinking about as we prepare to, for people like that might be a little slower in getting out? Thank you.
We'll take a stab at this, I think, Greg. I'm glad you brought that up because it is those of us at a certain age, but it's also many of us who have physical limitations, some that we've always had and some that come on later in life. And I would say, speaking for myself and for members of my family, we jump the steps a little bit. When you're at ready, we're at get set, and we're heading where we need to go. I would rather be somewhere that I know is safe, that's prearranged, than really worry about, am I going to be able to make it when I have to hurry? Because some of us just physically can't do that anymore. So thank you so much for having that sensitivity.
Yes, I don't have much to add to that, and thank you for your hand. We'll get you too. Like Amy said, you know, the word that wasn't really quite stated, but this refers to planning. And it takes us back to something like map your neighborhood, and that is start planning before you need to execute the plan. The mentor that taught me about map your neighborhood happens to have a companion in the household who is an above amputee. Part of their planning and what they communicate to their neighbors is if something big and bad happens and if we need to turn to you for assistance, please know that when my did that reach back there? Okay, thank you. Again, I know that so much of this sounds like, oh, Greg, you're just telling us to plan. Yes? You know, and plan doesn't need to be, you know, something signed in blood, but the point is that you've discussed some of these possibilities with someone and have looked ahead and said, oh, well, what are we going to need if we have to bug out really quickly besides that go bag that we were all talking about? Do we need to have a spare wheelchair, spare set of crutches, a spare cane? Do we need to have a backup battery for that phone? And on it goes. Make sense? Great. Thank you. You had one more call.
In my neighborhood, every September there's 30 houses on the street I live on. We have a block party. Big potluck, everybody comes, and it's a great time for us to get to know each other and do some neighborhood mapping so we know what needs there are in the neighborhood.
My name is Gail Chiarello. I'm at 16 Inlet Circle. My question is only, is there an optimal number of people or individuals in this map your neighborhood? It's hard to know. I mean, do you want it small and effective? Do you want it to cover a larger areas? I'd like to hear some thoughts on that.
Excellent question. And for those who didn't hear it, the question was, well, is there an optimal number of people for this map your neighborhood activity? When it was designed, it was the vision was for nice, neat little city blocks that are in perpendicular streets. So it's everybody on your block when you look to one end of the street and you look to the other end of the street. And isn't that exactly what Sudden Valley is like? Nice, neat little streets on right angles. So what I tell people is, if you're in town, stand at your front door, look to one end of the block, look to the other end of the block, and what you're probably going to see is somewhere from 16 to 24 households. That's a manageable number. Out here, I would say, consider this approximately the same number of households, like say a dozen to 20. And here's the point, really. When you get together with these neighbors and get acquainted with them and start to cultivate some of this sense of shared destiny, you want it to be people that you're going to see on a regular basis, and they see you, and you're familiar with each other. You know, you're going to share a bit of information with each other, like, oh, yep, I've got a generator out back, and you can use it even if I'm traveling, you know, and other such information. What you're doing is cultivating a sense of shared trust, and it's easier to do with people that you see every day and who see you. If you are living on, if by some rare chance you're living on a long, twisty, windy street, I don't know, are there any of those out here? Maybe one or two. Then what you do is you subdivide. You just say, oh, well, okay, one group is going to be these dozen households, and then the next dozen households will be another little group. What really matters is the relationships between the people. And if the people that are, you know, a half mile away from each other don't see each other, don't really get acquainted, well, then let them do it with the people that they know and see every day. Make sense? Nodding heads, not just nodding off. Did that answer that question? Great. I'll carry it back to you. I'm getting a very unreasonable question asking if we have more Prepare in a Year guides in the English language. Clearly, you're not up for a challenge. We have plenty of these materials. Here's the good news, folks. You scored a home run. So many of you turned out tonight to give your attention to this topic that you exceeded the number of publications that we brought. Like Amy said, if by chance you don't speak Spanish or Russian or Vietnamese or Punjabi, first of all, please remember that we have neighbors in Whatcom County who do, but hand back in the ones you have. We'll get a stack of them out here to, I guess, the Sudden Valley Community Association and get them to you. Plus, if you visit either of our web pages, if you go to whatcomcounty.org, you'll find links and you'll find electronic copies of those available online.
You hit on me.
hi. One of my questions is about the number of exits that we have available to us. And so all I can imagine is it sounds great to say we're all going to be orderly, but as soon as everyone hears the word fire, everyone's going to run for the exits, and there's going to be traffic jams. So one of my questions is there any plans in place to create more exits? That's number one. Number two, if we find ourselves in a gridlock and there's a fire burning all around us, what do? Where do we go? We get out, run down to the lake? Is there some kind of plan?
Well, those are important questions. And my boss, Deputy Director for Emergency Management, Matt Klein, has been talking with and working with people on the Sudden Valley Safety Committee. We, emergency management, cannot create more roads or exits. That's simply beyond our purview. When you get to the gridlock, it's kind of gone too far. That's why we do the ready, set part. That's why we say if you have any doubt, go early or help the folks who you know need help. I would defer to your safety committee because what I've heard from my boss is that they're doing great work. They're talking to all the right people and they've been planning. Do you want to speak any more to that?
Your concern is heard, and I think it's a concern of everybody in the room. It's being worked on. As we all know, there's not many ways out of here. But how many of you noticed the new yellow lines on some of the main roads? That's part of it. It's a way to see the road, a divided road, when it's smoky. So there are more things to come. It's just going to take a while. There's no simple answers to your question. He mentioned carpooling. If it's available to you, great. Now we just have to remember Lake Whatcom Boulevard and Lake Louise could possibly get very crowded. So early evacuation, if they call for it, that's my plan.
Hi. I guess my first thought is head to the water. And is there any marine kind of help that we could expect as well, or not really?
I can kind of answer that. In discussions with the fire chief, going to the marina or the lake is, and there's a lot of smoke, is going to be a bad idea because smoke's going to settle in the lowest areas. So it may become unbreathable down there. It depends on how much smoke there is. I mean, it could cover the entire lake. But yeah, that's a possibility. You know, do what makes you comfortable.
All right, can you hear me? Yeah. This is kind of more of a safety committee, I think, comment or question. I just, like, we had an experience in our neighborhood a few years, oh, sorry. We had an experience a little while ago. A neighbor had a water leak, and it was getting, I mean, it was an emergency for one person, I guess. But the water was flooding his house, and he didn't have the tool to turn off the water. And it made me think that we might, Sudden Valley might have caches of important tools around the valley, you know, like the tool for turning water off or what, you know, I'm sure you can think of lots of tools, right, that might be needed in an emergency. So that was just one thing I thought of at that time, is like having caches of things that people don't typically have available to them. I don't know. And the other thought, I was wondering, are you guys doing maybe a risk assessment for the whole valley? Like, you know, like mapping out particularly difficult areas in the valley, depending on, you know, situation, fire, flood, whatever. I always thought that would be really good.
Yeah, that is part of the plan, is having some local areas where residents can gather if it's safe. The water question, if you know where your water meter is, you can buy a shut-off wrench at hardware sales, just pop the cover off, stick it down there, put it on top of the valve, and give it a turn. And it will shut off the water to your house. And a lot of houses where the water enters the house, where your pressure regulator is, there should be a valve there too for shutting off the water to the whole house. Yeah, that would be a maintenance question, and I don't know that maintenance would be allowed to turn off your water or provide the tools.
So I'm going to go back to one of your questions, and that was, for those who didn't hear it, well, what about the idea of having a little neighborhood cache or collection of tools, you know, near enough that people could make use of it? Those kinds of things do happen in some places. I work with neighborhoods in the city of Bellingham, and I know of 2 locations where neighbors have collaborated and they've gotten a storage locker, and one person says, oh, well, we could put it on, you know, outside my garage and whatnot. Those things are achievable, and in some parts of the country, people will just tell us, well, of course, that's how you be a good neighbor. But like Tom was suggesting, they need a tender. They, you know, need someone to check on it periodically. You need to secure it, so it needs to be locked. Who can open it? Who cannot? What happens when the person with the key to the lock is in Arizona? So absolutely doable. And here I go again with that word planning. It just takes a bit of planning and coordination to achieve something like that. And you know, whether you folks wanted to work with your community association on something like that at something closer to a municipal level, that's up to you. It's certainly achievable at a neighborhood level. It, you know, comes down to getting that participation and commitment among neighbors. Oh, actually, now's a really good chance to ask that question too. Quick show of hands, and then we've got one person waiting in back and then one person waiting up front. Quick show of hands if you have participated in or at least have heard of a program called Community Emergency Response Team. Oh, bless your hearts. Thank you for raising your hands. For those of you who are not familiar with it and wish that your hand was raised, that is a training program. That's 8 weeks of training, 1 night a week, a bit of reading, some videos to watch. And what it does is, for the students, you develop a set of skills that are useful in emergencies and disasters. How to put out a fire, how to safely carry someone that's non-ambulatory, how to set up a field medical treatment station, how to provide some life-saving interventions. At the end of the course, they stage a simulated disaster for you, and you get to rescue some live survivors. It's a wonderful training, and the key point is this: it is actually training. You learn how to work together safely and effectively with other members of the community, people that you don't even know. When I talk to you about map your neighborhood, by and large, that is a planning activity. It's you meeting with your immediate neighbors and creating a shared plan. Map your neighborhood, planning. CERT, training. You want to add anything to that? Okay, way in the back.
Okay, his comment was to learn how to shut off your natural gas right at the meter and your propane tank to stop gas flow. Colleen Mitchell, one of our members, is very involved with CERT. There's going to be an article in next month's Views saying we're kind of where it's at. You know, we wish it was better, but we're trying to get another class out here in Sun Valley. But it looks like the best opportunity is going to be in 2027. They are very, very busy. I- I've always had pretty good luck on a gas meter with a large crescent wrench. If you install an earthquake valve on your gas meter, your insurance company will give you a discount.
My name is Richard Walkie at One Canyon Court, and all this conversation leads to one thing: is fire prevention. So, would you consider our responsibility as citizens of the community if we see an unattended fire, or we see a fire burning in a barrel with nobody around, to call 911 or make any notification at all?
Yeah, our last meeting, and our last meeting was just a month ago, and it was on Firewise. And that's what that program's about, is clearing your house. And one thing that if they do an inspection on your house, it's totally free. They're going to recommend you get any wood chips around your house away from the house. So if you're signing up or grabbing free wood chips, not a good idea.
Yeah, so I was just going to make a suggestion. One thing that yeah, my name is Josh, and I'm up in Gate 3. One thing that I think about every year when it comes to, like, I guess, fire prevention is we honestly don't have enough fire-wise events in Sudden Valley. I think there's only a couple every single year, but if we look at the event we just had this past, season, it was, way longer than it had to be just because there was so much debris around the area that was needed to be picked up. So I personally think we need to have it at least once every other month, or, something like that instead of every time there's a windstorm. So.
All right, we'll look into that. That sounds like a popular one.
David Narcico, Gate 5, Bramble Way. I understand that there's some guidelines with regards to the foliage around our house, which makes it less likely that your house is going to burn down. The problem is with the square footage of the lots of like about 6,000 square feet, and the requirements of not cutting certain kinds of foliage and trees down, that it's really impossible to go in line or to stay with the guidelines to protect your house in that regard. So, I mean, I appreciate the need and want for all this foliage, but it seems like the requirements of the valley go against what the fire recommendations are for the amount of space around the house.
If you have a Firewise inspection, that's what they give you as recommendations. They're not requirements. They will leave you a report. It's not filed with your insurance company or anybody else. It's a private report just for you. You can follow the recommendations or not. I understand what you're saying.
Is this working? Okay, it's on? Oh, I have a question. I'm fairly new to Sudden Valley, and I'm very grateful to see everyone who's attending right now. For those that aren't attending and may not be tech savvy to watch this on YouTube, I'm wondering if some of the things that were discussed today, like specifically how to turn off a propane tank, maybe at your neighbor's house, or how to turn off water at a neighbor's house in a disaster, could be put on the Sudden Valley website and published in the Sudden Valley paper so people can know this important information. And perhaps even list the kind of tools that are needed.
Yeah, it's something we can definitely look into. This event is being recorded and will be available on YouTube. If you want to tell your friends about it, they will be able to get the same information you're getting here tonight. They just won't get a door prize.
Just super quick, I know we ran out of some materials, but if you didn't get this and we've got them, please do take this, partly because we touched on it, but when something happens that requires, that's life-threatening, our comprehension level drops and our ability to think about what we need to do basically diminishes. This is everything you need to know on one card, including what goes in your Go kit, what to do during Ready, Set, Go, and how to get more help. So pick this up or let me know if you couldn't get one and need it.
Here are two more pieces of the answer to your question. Here's the first piece. Folks, you have a new neighbor in Sudden Valley. Can everyone please just say, "Welcome to Sudden Valley"? Thank you. Next. You're talking about understanding how to use utility controls such as gas, propane, water, electricity. Guess what's covered in one of the units in that CERT training program? Just making a small pitch. And then finally, keep in mind, this still circles back around to neighbors. If every neighbor in the block doesn't have one of those 4-in-1 wrenches that we can get from Lowe's and hardware sales and everywhere else, well, if one or two neighbors have some of those tools and they're acquainted with each other, they're close at hand. This often just circles back around to cultivating your community and cultivating your social bonds.
Okay, we're running out of time for questions. We're going to have to close. Let's give Greg and Amy our thanks. Waylon, can you come on up, buddy? We have some items we're going to give away. We have a few go bag backpacks. We have some pre-filled bags that go into a backpack. And last but not least, a $25 gift card. So Waylon's going to choose our winners. Are there more tickets that need to go in here? Yeah, the halves. Anybody else? Okay, Waylon, if you want to reach in there and grab one. Our first prize is going to be a backpack. Number 954305. So do we have a claimant? Oh, those are going with it? Yeah, I think it's in the back there. Number again, 954305. Okay, this is going to be another backpack and a goodie bag. Nine five four 772. My bad. 954272. Nine five four three two five. Nine five four three six. Please, if you did not do so, this didn't quite work the way we wanted. You were supposed to get a ticket when you signed in. So if you haven't signed in, please do so. Nine, five, four. It's on the line. 730. 954. 230. It's printed right on the line. 954324. Okay, we're out of the goodie bags so now it's just backpacks. Okay, Judy was hiding one. 954320. Do we have a winner on that one? Yep, right there. Waylon, you must have seen that one. That was your mom. Nine, 54341. Nine, 54256. 954333. 954328. 954278. Okay, now the $25 gift card. Nine, 54241. Okay, so please, once again, please sign up. There are surveys and Q&A sheet or suggestion sheets. Please take one, fill it out. If you can, put it on the kitchen counter back there. Thank you for your attendance. We really appreciate it, you guys.